Hello again, friends. Welcome back to Grow and Sew here on Seam of Consciousness, and welcome back to my craft room. If you're just seeing this for the first time, welcome. If we've met before, welcome back. I'm glad to be back as well. Last time we spoke, I was still reeling a little bit from my return from Disney World, and I was really struggling to figure out what was supposed to come next. And now that I'm back, I'm happy to say I have some answers and I have some good perspective on how to go about achieving those next steps. But first, I encourage you to get comfortable during our time together. Let's get cozy and let's slow down a little bit. Today, it's extra warm in here, so I'm keeping cool in my tank top and an iced coffee. Let's release some tension in those shoulders by scrunching them up close to your ears and breathing in. And exhale as you release them down. Let's roll them backwards and forwards a few times. And let's take 3 big deep breaths. 1 to let go of the things we cannot control. 1 to remember the things we can control. And 1 to bring us to the present moment and outside of our own heads for a little while. Great. So to catch you up to speed with everything that's been going on for the last couple of weeks, it would be fair to say that it's been a really big game of catch up for me as well. There's been a lot of adulting that's needed to happen, along with some environmental things that are really beyond our control, like power outages and dead air conditioning units. With our brains still pretty scatterbrained from the trip and planning for the rest of our year, everything has really kind of been moving slower than expected. The amount of time it takes to get these things moving forward can really be frustrating, but that pace will just have to be okay for now. Because forcing these things to go faster and rushing does not really guarantee that these tasks will be done well. And the rework often takes more time than the initial task would have if it was done slower and more deliberately and more accurately. And that's absolutely true for my crafting as well right now. I found that my ability to get started on these projects was really being stalled by some unexpected mental blockers. And I hadn't realized how big those mental blockers were until I removed just 1 or 2 of them. And I was finally able to gain some momentum. So for example, I finally took some steps towards overcoming my fear of my new sewing machine. She's big and she's computerized and she is OP, and I am terrified of how difficult it could be to troubleshoot issues that might come along. And I was so afraid of messing up. And this was absolutely true just yesterday, whenever my machine was starting and stopping by itself. So scary. Like, I thought it was haunted. Like, I wasn't touching it, I wasn't pushing the pedal, I wasn't doing anything, and it was like, I'm gonna go now. Like, this is terrifying. Where am I supposed to look to figure this out? And so, like, I was so intimidated by the stigma of reading the manual to try to resolve this thing. And it sounds so silly whenever I say it out loud, because, like, the manual is literally the step-by-step guide on how to do the things I need to do, and it's the troubleshooting guide. And with this problem, I just did not know where to look, and I had trouble, bringing myself to look in the manual to figure this out. And of course I did Google searches, nothing came up. And so I eventually found out that it was indeed operator error. I keep a cardboard box under my table, and part of this cardboard box was pressing down on the pedal, so the machine was being told, like, hey, you need to be sewing right now. And even though I wasn't pressing down on the pedal, and it was really kind of messing up the machine with these mixed signals. But it's just those silly blockers, those silly mental things that just really prevented me from connecting with my machine. And in my mind, I was thinking, if I can't figure out how to do something as simple as thread this machine without the manual, then I shouldn't be using this machine at all. And that's just such an oversimplification, because these machines are so complicated nowadays that you risk messing it up more by not reading the manual than you do by reading the manual as you mess up. So it was really good to nip that intimidation in the bud and to figure out what the problem was on my own, and read through the manual to make sure I was threading it correctly, that I was refilling the bobbin correctly. And I managed to sit down and focus long enough to practice threading the machine a time or two with the manual open beside me, and putting the bobbin in correctly a couple of times with the manual open beside me. And once I figured it out, I experimented with some of the features, and I found a combination that really works well enough for this quilt of half square triangles that I've been working on. And it hums along beautifully. It's like a dream. And the stitches are cleaner and more consistent, and the movement under the foot is so much more stable and so much more consistent. And I successfully redid the entire upper half of the black panel, and the purple panel is actually almost done. So once I figured out how clean the stitches could be, I decided to actually go ahead and redo the bottom half of the black panel as well, because the whole quilt will benefit from the additional consistency in the long run. And that's the power of having such such a more powerful machine than the one I was using before. Like, equipment really matters. So by removing this blocker, along with removing silly mental blockers from other projects, it really enabled me to clean up my crafty to-do list and to move forward with my other projects. And so moving on to the clothing side of things, I am working on a new design for a friend's wedding that I'm attending in October. And what you see on the side here is actually my sketching process. So the program that I use to make these designs records your pen strokes as they happen. And so what you're seeing is my actual design. It is my drawing, and it's going to be my reference material for this project. So with the details for the dress, I wanted to make something gentle and feminine that's really kind of flexible for any temperature, since you can never really predict what the weather is going to be like in October. I'm opting for between a casual and semi-formal style. It is going to be a layered sundress over a stretchy, sheer, black, long-sleeve turtleneck top. And the dress will be a sage green with a waffle knit texture and a sweetheart neckline and spaghetti straps. And it'll be knee length for comfort and maneuverability, because, gotta dance. And I'm not much of a pantyhose person, but I think some black pattern tights would tie together really well with the sheer top, as well as this pair of witchy high heel shoes that I have. It's going to be October, so of course I can't resist, tying in some kind of witchy goth element with it. And what's really great about this design is that the original design has the black sheer top, but the sheer top is not going to be attached to the dress. So it can be swapped out for pretty much any color. So I think it would look adorable with an ivory or a cream turtleneck, or maybe even a light blue or a dark orange or a dark red, really just depending on what the season is. And this versatility really improves the reusability of the dress. And you will absolutely, 100%, see me in the pumpkin patch with this green dress, a cream turtleneck, and my tan wide-brimmed hat. As always, I am going to be going out of my comfort zone with at least one aspect of this design. All right, you ready for this? I'm going to try something I have never done before. I am going to make a muslin mock-up. Wild, right? Every single experienced sewist watching this video is going to be like, Well, yeah. And I'm talking about you, Grandma, specifically. I know that's what you'll say here. And the thing is, I've gotten away with not making mock-ups so far. Even for my wedding dress, I made an official dress as my mock-up. And I've been able to get things sort of right on the first try for a long time. And trust me, I know how arrogant and kind of stuck up that sounds. And it wasn't really a problem until I tried to make the Elsa top a couple of videos back. So far, my MO has really been relying on stretchy fabrics for flexibility and versatility. But this time, I'm going to rely on my mock-up to tell me what I need to do for sizing instead of relying on stretchy fabrics. I have shied away far too long from too many opportunities because I've turned my nose up at mock-ups because of how much extra time it takes. And if I'm going to start tackling these opportunities and tackling the more difficult skills, then I need to learn how to use the tools and techniques that are involved in them, even if they intimidate me. And removing those obstacles will really help me gain some momentum to move forward with all sorts of different projects. And I'm sure the lessons will be many, they will be messy, and probably also highly educational. So, without further ado, stay tuned, my friends. Until then, know that I am proud of you, and I can't wait to see you again.